defensive end of the floor and allow his success on the defensive end to translate over to the offensive end of the floor. That was the biggest thing that he was able to do in the limited time that we saw him as a freshman. He would have just enough success on the defensive end of the ball that it would carry over to the offensive side. I think, again, I've said it, and I mean, I know that you're, definitely still a little cautious. I still think that there's more around him this year, so I think the pressure will be off a little bit for him, but I still expect that, come this time next year when we're doing his player review, it'll be a little bit different. I think there'll be a lot of guys that, or a lot of people that will have gone back on what they said about him this offseason and say maybe we were just a little bit too harsh on him in a season that was not really all that successful for anybody besides Garrison.
Yeah, I definitely echo everything you just said. It will be interesting when we get closer to the preseason and I start getting guests on, if he's still the guy that comes off everyone's tongue as the guy that we can expect to take the next step. You can't really expect Garrison Brooks to get any better because he improved so much during the year last year. So that'll be something that, will be interesting to see, and we're all hoping he becomes the player we believe he can be and what he knows he can be. So with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this edition of the podcast. Before we let you go, we know we're going to talk about the website, and we've got two things in regards to the Heel Tough blog website. And the first thing is that, and for you guys that read our stuff, if you've noticed in the last couple of weeks, we've added a new writer. His name is Mark Krings. This is a guy that, longtime follower on Twitter. We've engaged in conversation from time to time. He reached out a couple of weeks ago. We just kind of got to chatting. He's a big time into the recruiting world. I asked him if he'd be interested to come write for us. He agreed. We talked to him, and he's been a great addition. So what we want you to do is encourage you to go follow him on Twitter. His handle is Krings_23. Give him a follow. He's going to be doing a lot of our recruiting, and then in the season, him and I will share duties, previewing, recapping, and writing some opinionated articles, kind of lessen the load on me during basketball season so I can help in other areas of the site, and also just trying to help a guy get his voice and his opinion out. So, and he will be on the podcast. As you guys know that listen to Anthony's Heel Tough blog, he's got Zach Hubbard for football recruiting. Well, I'm going to kick Anthony out and do some basketball recruiting with Mark, so be looking out for him in the weeks to come. And since we're talking about the website, we do encourage you guys to check it out. A lot of great content that's on there. Mark's written some recruiting articles about the latest player that Carolina offered in Hunter Salas, and then he broke down Kerwin a little bit more in depth than what I did when he initially committed to Carolina. You can check that out. And Anthony's got an article up about how us and Tennessee will have some interesting recruiting battles on the football trail. Of course, Carolina right now got the number 2 class in the country, but Tennessee, after this past week, had a monster week, so they've gotten pretty hot, and both schools are going to be important trying to get some elite talent. And also, Anthony's got a fun article he's working on right now, so keep your eyes peeled out for all that on HeelToughBlog.com. And lastly, we encourage you to like and review the podcast on every major podcast platform. We're on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn, and Google Podcasts. Give us a like, review me as the host, review Anthony as the co-host. Most importantly, we encourage you guys to subscribe. That way you get every podcast after every time we upload a new one to your web player. Well, with that, I want to thank Anthony for coming on, talking a little Carolina basketball. Guys, I know that a lot of states are starting to lift some restrictions on the social distancing stuff. We still encourage you guys to practice social distancing, use safe habits, stay strong, stay healthy. Remember, we're all in this together. And as always, go Tar Heels.